Good morning. Good morning, one and all, to you who are here. Good morning to those of you who are watching live online. And good whatever time of day it is for those of you who are watching recorded online or on TV. We say here in this congregation and in congregations around the United Church of Christ that no matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, these days, no matter how or from where you are participating in this worship service, you are indeed welcome here. As we move toward our time of worship, this month we are really focusing on God's call to care for the earth, for creation, and so as part of that commitment, we want to honor those ancient people on whose land we gather. And so we give thanks and honor to the Ho-Chungra people and their descendants. This morning we will celebrate communion, so for those of you at home or somewhere other than here, I invite you to make sure you have bread and a fruit of the vine, some juice or some wine at the ready so that you too can participate in communion. Just a reminder, if you were here ahead of time, you know that we have announcements before the service. We also show those announcements at the end of the service. And now, for the first time in over a year and a half, we have an in-person announcement. This is very exciting. So I invite Pat Dwyer-Hallquist forward. It has been a long time.
Good morning. I didn't realize it had been that long. I have an announcement from Lifelong Learning. This was formerly Adult Education. The new name emphasizes its aim to be intergenerational, welcoming, and all-inclusive. Lifelong Learning programs are after church at 11 a.m. in the library. They'll also be online. I don't know if they heard about today's program, but I think it was the announcements posted there.
And I can say a few words about it too.
Okay. We want to let you know what else is coming up. October is Creation Month or Earth Month, so several programs will focus on climate change, a topic that has been much in the news. Heat waves, severe storms, wildfires, floods, drought. The recent IPCC report warns that we are on a disastrous path. The question is, what can be done and how can the problem be addressed in ways that are just and fair? On October 10th, our speaker will be Jill Horoski, a volunteer for the Citizens Climate Lobby, which is an international volunteer organization that works to build a more livable world by putting a price on carbon in a way that is fair to all. While it is international, it started in the United States and is very much centered in the United States. On October 17th, Aaron Caprillion will be reading from Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. This book is in the Wisconsin Conference Big Read, and we'll be talking about it more in November and December. The author is also speaking to the entire Wisconsin Conference by Zoom on October 9th in conjunction with the immersion event at Pilgrim Center. On October 24th, Stuart Cole will be speaking about climate justice. Stuart is in English and Environmental Studies at UW-Oshkosh and is also an accomplished poet. Finally, on October 31st, our own Green Team will give a presentation about the Kairos Call to Action of the Wisconsin Conference. Remember, all programs are after the service at 11 a.m. in the library. They're also online. We hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. And this morning, the program is on radical welcome, radical hospitality, how we as a congregation can build on the embrace that this church has made of a wide welcome to God's people. It's a time, I hope, of a bit of celebration, but also a time of learning how we can go even deeper and wider in our welcome. So now I invite all of us, wherever we are, to take a deep breath. Settle in to this time of worship. Let us open our hearts to receive the gifts of God's grace that are prepared for us today. And as is our custom, we will begin our worship service with the sound of the singing bowl. invite the Propsons forward to light the peace candle. One or more Propson. You ready? Okay. Get the light from up here. Lost the wick. We need to stick that wick back up. This way. There we go. With prayers for peace in our hearts and peace and healing in our world, we light this candle. Thank you. Thank you. And now I invite you to rise where you are. Remember that, let's see, the people who are watching will be watching from that camera, so make sure we share the peace with those who are elsewhere as we share the peace with one another. May the peace of Christ be with us all. And now would you join me in the responsive opening words? Let us bless the Lord. You, O God, are clothed with splendor and majesty, covering yourself with light as with a garment, stretching the heavens like a tent. You, O Lord, cover the heavens with clouds, preparing rain for the earth and making grass grow on the hills. As you shower your love on us, Eternal One, stretch out our hands to love all of your creation. I invite you to be seated as we take in the opening song this morning, Enter My Heart. Let us pray. Almighty God, you who are mother and father to us all, look upon your planet Earth divided. Help us to know that we are all your children, that all nations belong to one great family,
and all of our religions lead to you. Multiply our prayers in every land until the whole earth becomes your congregation, united in your love. Sustain our vision of a peaceful future and give us strength to work unceasingly to make that vision real. Amen.
Now, as usual, I invite the people of all ages, young at heart, young of spirit, young of body, or middle-aged or elderly, of any of those things, to imagine ourselves gathered around here as we talk a bit about the gospel, the good news of God in Jesus, in a little more informal way. So I said in this morning's opening, this morning's welcome, that we are focusing on our call as God's people to care for God's earth, God's creation, as much as God cares for us. And so one of the things that helps us, I think, do that is to be able just to take in the amazing earth that we live on. So I'd like you to imagine, I know it's kind of cloudy right now, but imagine a really clear night. And you go outside and you lie down and look up at the sky and the stars and the planets. It's like, wow, this is amazing. All those places out there, and yet we're here. And God loves all of it. And the one who creates us, who forms us in our mother's bodies, created all that too. Wow. Well, and think about driving around, I don't know, northeast Wisconsin, and seeing these vast fields of soybeans or corn, or these vast forests, and just take it all in. Wow, what an amazing place we live. And then go inside and look in the mirror and see what God created in you. And there may be, this is part of being human, there are things about us we don't like. But just kind of let that stay aside and just look into your own eyes, look into your own hearts, and just be amazed that we have these bodies, we have these minds, and God created them all. So can we take that kind of wonder, that kind of awe, and realize that there's love woven through everything and everyone? And so maybe, just maybe, we can start caring for one another as these incredible creatures that we are, and caring for this earth. Because we need to not take it for granted. None of God's gifts should we ever take for granted. It can be hard. Sometimes we forget. But just if you need to, just look for that really clear night and just stare up at those stars. And realize we're a part of them and they're a part of us. So maybe we can just quit thinking that there's them and there's us. It's all us. And that includes the creatures on the earth. It includes the bacteria in the soil. It includes it all. We are all family. What an amazing thing. And what incredible care we are invited to take. of ourselves and one another and this extraordinary planet. Would you pray with me, please? Loving God, if we pause and truly look, we are struck by the magnificence of your creation. We ask your guidance so that we can learn to care for this, your earth, more fully, more lovingly, more wisely. In and through your grace, may we be people of awe and care. Amen. Now we're going to hear one long reading and two really short ones that point us in that same direction, being in awe and gratitude for all that God grants us. Let us hear this morning's readings.
A reading from Nehemiah chapter 9, verses 1 through 6. Now on the 24th day of this month, the people of Israel were assembled with fasting and in sackcloth and with dust on their heads. Then those of Israelite descent separated themselves from all foreigners and stood and confessed their sins and iniquities of their ancestors. They stood up in their place and read from the book of the law of the Lord their God for a fourth part of the day. And for another fourth, they made confession and worshiped the Lord their God. Then Jeshua, Bani, Kadmilah, Shebaniah, Bunni, Sherebiah, Bani, and Kenani stood on the stairs of the Levites and cried out with a loud voice to the Lord their God. Then the Levites, Jeshua, Kadmilah, Bani, Hashabniah, Sherebiah, Pedaiah, Shebaniah, and Pethahiah said, Stand up and bless the Lord your God, from everlasting to everlasting. Blessed be your glorious name, which is exalted above all blessing and praise. And Ezra said, You are the Lord, you alone. You have made heaven, the heaven of heavens, and all their hosts, the earth and all that is in it, the seas and all that is in them. To all of them give you life, and the host of heaven worships you. The epistle reading this morning is taken from 1 Timothy chapter 4, verses 4 and 5. For everything created by God is good, and nothing is to be rejected, provided it is received with thanksgiving, for it is sanctified by God's word and by prayer. The gospel lesson is taken from Luke's account, chapter 12, verse 6. Are not 5 sparrows sold for 2 pennies? Yet not one of them is forgotten in God's sight. So ends this, the reading and hearing of God's holy word. May we find blessing in it. Amen.
Amen. If you want to stand in awe, just look up the 9th chapter of Nehemiah and look at all the names that he just read. I felt kind of bad asking him to read all those names. So what's going on? All these people gathering, as described in the book of Nehemiah. Well, the Israelites have been brought back from exile, one of their exiles, and they're trying to form a people again. And Nehemiah and Ezra and Nehemiah are playing important roles in nurturing a faithful community that is rededicating itself to the covenant with God, the covenant with Yahweh, to be Yahweh's faithful people. And not surprisingly, if you know the stories in the earlier part of the Old Testament, what Christians call the Old Testament, they have a lot of confessing to do. They have their own confessing. They have indeed worshiped other gods, whether it was Baal or other gods of other nations, or imagining it in present day 21st century, well, worshipped money or political power or sexiness or prestige. They'd gone after things other than faithfulness. But then they also, as a people, needed to own up to their history. Their ancestors had not been the most faithful of people. Back in the wilderness, they wanted a golden calf, and Aaron gave them a golden calf, and they worshiped the golden calf. They grumbled and complained that they didn't have enough water, they didn't have enough to eat, they wanted meat instead of manna. They were just always just kind of grumpy people. And so part of what this gathering is in the book of Nehemiah is owning up to all of who they are and who they've been as a people. And they do that for hours. Many churches like this, we can't even put in a confession of sin in any service without people going, whoa! But these people are up there confessing for hours. But how does that section end? It doesn't end with this, we are horrible people. It ends with Ezra, full of conviction and full of awe. Yeah, here are the things that we've done. Here are the things our ancestors have done. Here are the things that we fall short on. What does Ezra do? Ezra speaks to the Lord. Ezra reminds everyone that no matter what that history is and no matter what those people did that very morning, God is God. And the Holy One is at work in them, in us, and in the world. So that we are invited to step into looking at ourselves with a bright light, seeing the ways that we, like those ancient Israelites, have fallen on our faces, have not loved God with all our soul, all our heart, and all our minds. We have not loved our neighbors as ourselves. We treat people differently, who are different from us, as if they're less than us. There's so many ways in which we don't live up to God's invitation to be filled with love. And we need to know that it's true, but not to feel like we should be beaten up for it, but instead to be ready to be reminded that God is God. There is something at work in us, in other people, in the world that moves all of creation toward that vision of genuine love, true peace, broad justice, so that we don't have to be afraid of facing our own imperfections. It's part of the deal. They're pretty hard to get away from. But we are reminded again and again and again throughout our ancient scriptures. We can be reminded again and again in community. We can be reminded again and again in our own prayer life that God is greater than we are. That the Holy One's love that Christians know in and through Jesus encompasses it all and can use even our imperfections to build a world in which no one is hungry, everyone is loved, and we live in peace. Not because we are great and wonderful, although we do have our moments, but because God is God. In Jesus, when we share this holy meal, We are invited to take in a little bit more of that love and that vision so that we can be transformed bit by bit by bit, not into perfect people, but into people with greater faith, greater hope, and more of a willingness to get out there and love the world as God in Christ does. May we follow that invitation wherever it may take us. Amen and amen. The last few weeks, we have had a bowl of water and a basket of stones. And over these last few weeks, we've all been invited to think of those we have lost, those who have died, especially in these last 18 months, and to remember as we give thanks for their lives, Suzanne, that although they are indeed not with us in the same way, they are held in the love and grace of God. It is different that they're not here. The grief is real, but so is the grace and love in which they are held, and the love in which they can continue to live in our own hearts. Let us pray. Gracious God, we give thanks for the life and love and laughter of those who have gone before us. Help us remember that they are held in your everlasting love, and that they live on in and through us. Help us cherish all those who are still with us as we seek to be your people of grace and blessing. Amen. We now move into our time of more focused prayer. And I invite you to take another deep breath. And as you settle in a little bit more, listen for the whispers of the Spirit in your own hearts. Let us pray. Holy Mystery, we echo the words of Ezra from so long ago. You are the Lord, you alone. You have made heaven, the heaven of heavens with all their host, the earth and all that is on it, the seas and all that is in them. To all of them you give life, and we, along with the host of heaven, give you thanks and praise. On this day, O God, we ask not only your forgiveness, but your guidance. We have abused your earth. We have taken it for granted. We have forgotten that all of creation is yours. Guide us to be more loving stewards of this planet, of all the lives it sustains. We give thanks, O God, for this earth and all the ways it nourishes us, body, mind, and spirit. We pray for those who are ill this day, for those whose lives are coming to an end. May their passage into eternity be filled with love and your presence. And Holy One,
we give thanks too for the message and the presence of the eternal Christ, the one who calls us to reach out our hands in care for the hungry, the thirsty, those who are imprisoned, those who are in need, as we all are. And here in this place on this day, we offer the prayers of our hearts as well as our spoken prayers in the name of Jesus, as we also lift our voices in the prayer he taught his disciples so long ago, as we say, "Our Creator, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen." We are surrounded by such a cloud of witnesses, those who have made the life and ministry of this church possible over the generations, those who have blessed us in our individual lives with grace and generosity, love and humor. May we now give generously of ourselves so that we can be a part of God's healing and blessing work in the world. Join me in the prayer of dedication. For the gift and gifts of life, O God, we give you thanks. May these gifts of time and labor embody our hope and longing to join you in creating a commonwealth of healing, justice, and true peace.
Amen. Please be seated. God be with you. Let us lift up our hearts. Let us give thanks to the living God. Gracious God of creation, your world reveals your glory. As we prepare for this simple meal, grant us eyes to see your glory in all that you have made, from the beauty of a sunset to the pattern of a snowflake. Give us also minds to grasp something of your purposes in creation and the humility to take our place as co-workers, serving you in your extraordinary creation. And give us hearts to love you in loving all your works, and tenderness in nurturing life in all its fullness. We turn our hearts and our lives to you, O God of all. You are the source of all mercies, the fount of love beyond measure. Wondrously, you have created heaven and earth and have formed us as your image of love in the world. We confess that we have distorted your image, and we give thanks that you have called us back again and again, forgiving us, delivering us from captivity to brokenness and death, feeding, healing, reconciling, making covenant, and setting before us the way that leads to life. For this and so much more, we give you thanks and praise, holy God of creation. We ask that you pour your Spirit on this simple meal and upon all who have gathered here and around the world in the name of love. May this meal nourish our willingness to love and serve you in all things. Amen. Beloveds, let us remember that on the night he gave himself up, at table with those who would desert and deny him, Jesus took bread. He blessed it. And giving it to his disciples, he said, "Take, eat. This is my body, the fullness of my life broken open and shared with you." Likewise, when the supper had ended, Jesus took the cup and gave thanks, and then gave it to those who were gathered round the table with him, saying, "Drink from this, all of you, for this is the cup of a new covenant, sealed with my life's blood. Do this in remembrance of me." Beloveds, the meal has been prepared. Let us share this simple feast of unending love and extravagant welcome. Now would you join me in the prayer of thanksgiving? God of everlasting grace, we give thanks for the invitation to share this meal with you and with one another. Fed by the eternal Christ, may we welcome Christ's presence in our midst and be emboldened to stretch out our hands in love and care for your world. Amen. Now we will hear For the Beauty of the Earth as our closing song. Beloveds, our benediction this morning comes from Christine Waltner's painter. It is called Earth as the Original Sacrament.
May Christ, who shimmers in all creation, surprise you each day with glittering moments. When you can see again how light lives in everything, how it partners with dark soil to bring forth aster and lavender, rosemary and daffodils, 100 kinds of squash, kale and cabbage, apple and berry, grapes sweetened by the sun. How the dough you knead in your hands is an alchemy of touch and time. How everything is a call to communion. The wafer of moon, a chalice of stars. Let the mystery of it all dance in your heart. A always widening your horizons, inhabiting new landscapes.